Everyone. Good afternoon and welcome to the first episode of our bootcamp. It's amazing to have you all here with me. So enjoy the ride and stay with me till the end. So yes, the bootcamp is People and Performance Bootcamp, and we have shared this into 6 episodes, 5 or 6 episodes. And this episode, we're going to be looking at how to build high-performing teams. How to build high-performing teams. That is what we're going to be looking at today. Yes, welcome to episode 1 of Cedro Royale, People and Performance Bootcamp. So if you have any questions or you're unclear at any point in time, you can just drop that in the comment section and we'll get back to it as soon as we can. Yeah, Cedro Royale is a people-focused organization. Yes, we provide HR services, solar solution services, agricultural services, and business consultation. So we are almost in all sectors. So any field you're in, we have a subsidiary of Cedro Royale that handles that for us. So you can feel free to reach out to us if you need any of our services. So why this masterclass? Why did we decide to, make this bootcamp and turn it into a series? Why did we decide to take the step? Why are we here at this time? So today, this is the learning outcome for today's class. We're going to be diagnosing, you should be able to diagnose your team at the end of this training and understand why your team is currently underperforming. You should also be able to distinguish between people problem or leadership problems. You should be able to build accountability without fear, accountability without being intimidating. Okay, you should be able to develop a people-focused culture that helps your business and your team perform even better. Then you're able to apply practical frameworks. There's a set of frameworks that we'll be talking about along the way during today's class. And you should be able to develop simple 30-day action guide. Okay. Now, who is this webinar for? Who is this training for? Now, this is for SME owners, founders, CEOs, directors, team leads, HR managers, and entrepreneurs. So if you run your own business or you intend on running your own business, this is for you. Okay. So just so you know, this call is being recorded. This call is being recorded. Yes. Okay, so let's move quickly. Now we're diving straight into what we have for the day. And the first thing we'll be looking at is understanding the SME leadership reality. SME is small, medium enterprise. So we want to understand the leadership reality of SMEs and see where your business falls into basically. Okay. And what we'll be looking at the real problem. Now, what is the real problem that SMEs have? We're going to be looking at leadership versus supervision. Let's see the difference between both of them, or if there's any difference at all. Then we're also going to be I'll be providing some insights on how I feel you can do better in any areas you might be lacking. Okay, so let's dive right into it, understanding the SME reality, the SME leadership reality. Now, if you're a business owner, imagine this. Imagine you leave your business for about 2 weeks. You're not on seat, you're not in the office, you just leave your business for about 2 weeks. What will happen within those 2 weeks? Would your business improve? Will it decline? Will it just be where it is? What happens within that 2 weeks you're not around? I think that's something we all need to think about. What happens to my business if I'm not on ground for 2 weeks? What happens then? Okay. So let's just take a minute to think about that. Now, whatever answer you come up with determines a lot. It says a lot about your business. Whatever answer you come up with says a lot about your business. Now, some SME owner or some founders or entrepreneurs or even managers believe that the problem of their company comes from the people. But are you sure it is really from your staff? Are you sure it's not a leadership problem? Are you sure this problem that you're currently facing is your staff basically that's causing it or doing it? That's something you really need to think about. What the problem you have at hand currently, is it a leadership problem or is it a staff problem? Is it a people problem? Okay. And the truth is, after reviewing some organizations and working with some organizations, we have just realized that some of these businesses are actually not people problem. Yeah, leadership problems. Okay. Now, what do I mean? So you need to sit down, take a few minutes and just think about it. What exactly are you doing that is making your business stay the way it is? What exactly are you not doing that if you start doing can improve your business? Okay. Now let's look at it now. Founder dependency. That's why I said you should take a minute and think of your business. If you're not around or if you're not on seat for 2 weeks, will your business improve? Will it decline? Will it remain the same? Right? Founder dependency. If you cannot leave your business for 2 weeks or your startup for 2 weeks or your company for 2 weeks, I'm sorry to say, you do not have a business. You have a 9 to 5. You have a 9 to 5. Now, do your business need constant supervision? Do your business need you to be there giving instructions, do this, do that? Do your business need you to be 100% in 4 hours a day on ground? If that is a business, like I said earlier, you do not have a business, you have a 9 to 5, okay? And what can this lead to? This can lead to employee disengagement. You just realize that employees come to work, but are they really performing? There's a difference between being busy and being productive. Okay, there's a difference between being busy and being productive. Are your employees busy, or are they productive? Are they just busy, or are they productive? That's one thing you really need to think about. Look at the difference between leadership and supervision. What is the difference between leadership and supervision? What differentiates a leader from a supervisor? Now, we all know that these are two different roles. And what differentiates you as a leader? What differentiates you as a founder from a supervisor? Okay. Now, leaders develop people. We all know that leaders develop people. They derive joy when they see that their staff are, improving, excelling, and even performing better. Leaders develop people. But supervisors, they watch people. They see how you handle tasks. They see how you do the things you do. That's the difference. That's one difference between leaders and supervisors. Leaders develop people and supervisors watch people. Now, leaders gives clarity. Clarity is very important in whatever instruction you are giving. Clarity is one very key thing. You need to specify. Do not just give a random instruction. There should be clarity to what you need. Clarity is very important. Supervisors, they give instructions. They do not provide clarity. Okay, they just tell you do this, do this, do this. They do not tell you how to do it, what to do, who is involved, all of that. But as a leader, you need to provide clarity when giving out instructions. Now, leaders teach people to solve problems. Leaders teach people to solve problems, and supervisors solves the problem by themselves. As I said, if your business for 2 weeks, what happens within those 2 weeks? And as I mentioned earlier, a leader develops people, a supervisor watches people. Leaders give instructions with clarity, a supervisor gives instructions. Now, leader teaches people to solve problems, but a supervisor solves every problem. That's why I said, think about your business. You leave your business for 2 weeks, will your business survive without you for 2 weeks? Will it or will it not? That determines if you're a leader or if you're a supervisor. Now, a leader builds ownership. A leader teaches its employee and staff to take ownership, but a supervisor controls the work. They do everything. They go through everything themselves. Now, what is then my advice to people who have realized now that they are leaders, or to people who have realized now that they are supervisors, right? Now, your employee needs to learn what is acceptable. That's teaching people to take ownership, teaching people to, be responsible. They need to take ownership of whatever it is, whatever decisions they make. Your employees need to take ownership. Your employee needs to know what is accepted and what is rewarded in your organization. Culture is something that is built over time. It's not just a 1 day or 2 day thing. Culture is something you build over time, and your culture is beyond what you type on paper. Your culture is beyond what your employees hear, the posters you have in your office. Your culture are those things that you accept, are those things you do not punish, are those things you do not talk about. That is your culture. People tend to do what they see other people doing than what is actually right. So what kind of culture are you building in your workplace? Today, we're not going to be talking about culture, but that's a bit of a diversion to make us understand that as a leader, you need to build culture that can sustain your business even when you are not around. So be a leader, do not just be a supervisor. I'm not saying being a supervisor is a bad thing, but be a leader. As much as you are a supervisor, also be a leader. Let your team know the level of decisions they can make. You can tell them, okay, take such decisions. Anything above this comes to me, right? But do not let them take ownership. Let them know how to be responsible. Let them know what is acceptable. Let them know what is your company's culture. And also, you as the leader, you as the founder, the HR manager, the director, whatever position you're holding, you also act according to the culture you would like to imbibe in your staff. Act according to what you want to see. Do not just say, don't do this, but you're doing it. Tend to do the things they see you do more than what they even hear you say. Okay? So let's move straight to the next one. The next one, we're going to be looking at why things really underperform. Now, we're talking about things that underperform here. And like I said, sometimes it can be a leadership problem, not a people problem. So now let's look at why teams are really underperforming. Let's look at why teams are underperforming. Okay? Now, we're going to be looking at the performance equation. And central role performance equation on this is going to be capability, clarity, motivation, leadership, and systems. We're going to be taking this one after the other and see how they, make this the performance equation that we are talking about. Okay. Now, many people think performance depends on one thing, which is skill. But an employee overall performance is not only based on their skill. Your employee overall performance is not based just on their skill. It takes a lot of things. It takes about 5 of these things to make up your employee performance. Okay. Now let's talk about capability. What is capability? Capability refers to the employee's knowledge and skills. And what can your employee do? That is their capacity. That is their capability. The things they can do is their capability. Now, the first question you need to ask any employee you're recruiting or any staff you're employing is, the first question you need to ask yourself is, can this person perform the task I want them to perform? That is their capacity, that is their skill. Can this person perform the task I want them to perform? Let's say you hire a fresh graduate as an HR manager for your company, and one day you ask this graduate who has like zero to maybe 6 months experience. You then ask the graduate to perform to handle a disciplinary case, or to, do HR build HR systems, build KPI tracking, all this key performance tracking tools and all of that. This person is a fresh graduate, they have zero knowledge on all these things, but you then give them a task that is beyond their capacity. You will not expect that employee to perform as much as a staff who has had maybe 2 or 3 years work experience in HR to perform. Okay, so what is the capacity of your staff? I struggle if you ask a fresh graduate to handle such cases. He will struggle, not because he is indisciplined or he's not serious, and he just not have. Okay, now what are signs of capacity gap? What are the signs of capacity gap? What are those things that you see? Oh, okay, there's a capacity gap here. The first one is poor quality of work. Poor quality of work. Poor quality of work. They make frequent mistakes. Mistakes that are avoidable. You see them, making that mistake over and over and over again. Then poor quality of work is another thing aside frequent mistakes. Then slow execution. The tasks that are supposed to take maybe 24 hours is then taking them, more than that. Not because they are slow or anything, but because they do not have the skill to move as fast as someone who has that experience will. Then lack of confidence. They might then know how to do this thing, but they are not confident enough to say, oh, I don't know how to do this thing, or oh, I can do this in a better way. Poor confidence. Then repeated question. They ask you same questions over and over and over again, maybe changing the English or something. Yes, those are skills that oh, okay, this person is lacking in certain areas. Now, how do you respond as a leader? How do you respond to this capacity problem as a leader? Do not punish the person. Do not sack the person. Train them. Companies who train their staff and end up having, quality staff and high performing teams. So train your staff, regardless of whether this person is an expert. You cannot outlearn. News are coming, news are coming. So you need to learn on them and keep learning. So train them, assign coaches to them, mentors, not just leave them on their own. Then offer learning opportunities or training opportunities. Then tell them to take the course. If you feel the course will help them, tell them to take the course, right? And if you can, sponsor it. It will help a lot. Let's move on quickly to the next one, which is clarity. Okay, so I'll just give an example of this. I'll give you an example. Let's say, okay, let me say you give an instruction to an employee and you tell the employee something like, oh, I need this report quickly. Now that's an instruction, right? You need this report quickly, but is it clear enough? I do not think so. What do you mean by quickly, if I may ask? Do you mean you need this report today? Do you mean you need this report tomorrow? Do you mean you need it by lunch? Do you mean maybe before close of work? There is no clear instruction, right? And everyone can interpret quickly as whatever whatever is convenient for them. So what do you mean by quickly? You need to give clarity. Now let's take this for example. I need this report quickly. That's one manager, saying that. Then let's say another manager comes up to you and says something like, oh, I need this report before 2 p.m. tomorrow, or before work close by 4-5. So you can say, I need this report before 2 p.m. tomorrow. It should include maybe a sales performance, customer feedback, employee feedback, and your recommendation as my staff. What do you recommend? Is that not clearer? You have told the employee when you need the report, what you want included in the report, and you also understand that you need their recommendation. Yes, you've also made them understand that you need their recommendation. Now, which of these two instructions do you think the employee would be able to, work with more easily? Okay, which of these do you think the employee will be able to work with easier? The I need this quickly, or I need this before 2 p.m. tomorrow, includes sales report, customer report, employee report. Okay. Okay. So now let's move on to the next one, which is motivation. Motivation is the willingness to apply effort consistently. It is the willingness of your staff or you as an employee to apply effort consistently. Motivation is not about giving, bonuses, not just bonuses or just salary. It involves a whole lot of other things. People feel motivated when they see everybody working as they should. People feel motivated when they see you as their employer working as you should or as you tell them to. People feel motivated when they feel respected in that company. The motivation will be high, the morale will be high, your staff are willing to perform. So you realize that over time I've seen employees leave offices or companies that pay them well, but still they leave. So salary is not the only way for you to keep your staff. You need to show them respect. Mutual respect is very important. You need to show them respect. You need to be able to listen to them. You need to be able to take their ideas, take their suggestions. Okay. That is that for motivation. And let's move on to leadership. Leadership creates an environment where people can perform. Your leadership style, your communication style, your accountability, your trust, your decision making, all these are examples of your leadership style. They are things that make up your leadership style. Okay. Now, manager A corrects every mistake publicly, interrupts staffs, and never, listens. Micromanagement. Then manager B provides coaching, corrects privately, and listens to staff. Now, which of these two managers do you think will be right? Not because manager B is being nice or whatever, but manager B listens to his staff, cared what you have to say. You're listening to your staff does not mean you're taking instructions from your staff. Listening to your staff is just a way of saying, okay, I appreciate your inputs. I'll think about it. I'll put it into consideration. And if it suits well, or if it goes well with what I have in mind, or if I see reasons with what you were saying, then we implement it. You're listening. You're not just the one talking and dashing out instructions. Okay. That is leadership. Do you listen? Do you communicate? Are you accountable? Are you responsible? And your staff see you do the things that you want them to do? Or do you just say do this and you do the opposite, right? And lastly, systems. Systems are repeated processes. They're things you do on repeat. Like your recruitment process, it already has a system it follows. Your recruitment, like from and then yes, what is actually the first thing to do before you even start any recruitment? Some people will be like, do the job posting. It is to identify what you're lacking. Do you really need to recruit a new staff, or is there someone you can train and upgrade to fill in that position? You need to identify the need of your organization, identify what you're lacking first before you take on any recruitment process. But recruitment have processes and these systems that are on repeat. There's a process it follows. There's a system it follows. So you don't necessarily need to do anything new. You just need to follow that lay down rule. Like recruitment, onboarding, all those things are things that you don't necessarily need to be, thinking over and over and over every week. It's something that is on repeat, and those are your systems. So what is your system like? What is your system? What is it operating like? Is it a healthy system? Is it a healthy workplace? Or is it a toxic system, and is it a toxic workplace? Okay. Now, to summarize everything that we said about secretarial performance formula, these are the questions you need to think about. Do your employee know what is expected of them? Do they know what is expected of them? Do they have the skills to do what is expected of them? Do they have the resources to do what is expected of them? Do they receive regular constructive feedback, or is it just criticism? You're not doing this, you're dumb, you're not productive, you're not how do you provide feedback to your employee? Now, for your systems, are they clear processes to follow? Are they clear things they know they must do? Have you supported them as a leader? All of these are what makes up your team, and all of this is why your team is either underperforming or performing excellently. Okay. Now let's move straight into the third one, and we're going to be looking at the 5 pillars every SME needs. The 5 pillars every SME needs. We've talked about some, but we'll be looking at others now. First, clarity. Second, accountability, communication, trust, and recognition. Now, what is clarity? Every employee understanding where they fall in, what is expected of them, who is responsible for what, who makes what decisions, who approves what. Clarity, their responsibility, their reporting line, their priorities, their decision making authority. All of those things needs to be provided to ensure that your staff have adequate clarity on what is expected of them. Okay, and signs of poor clarity we mentioned earlier. Frequent mistakes, slow processes, frequent questions, asking repeated questions. And when something is wrong, you hear your staff say, oh, I thought this person was in charge, or oh, I thought this person was to handle it, oh, I did not know, oh, I assumed I was not the one in charge. All those things are signs that you do not even have clarity in your workplace to start with. Secondly, will be accountability. Responsibility is being assigned. Everyone knows that they are responsible for something and they take ownership of that thing. They own the outcome, whether good or bad, they own the outcome. Now let's take an example of accountability. Your manager meets you and say, oh, please prepare this report. And as an employee, what will be your answer? Okay, sir, or okay, ma'am. Then Friday arrives and there's nothing on the report. You've not prepared the report. And your manager asks you, oh, where is the report I said you should prepare? Then the employee replies, I've been busy. Now, will you blame the employee for such response, or will you blame the employee for saying they've been busy? Would you do that? Because the manager never really provided any clarity or accountability. Now let's imagine a manager said, oh, I need this report by Friday 2 p.m. and when you're done, or I need this report by Friday 2 p.m. Can you meet up with this timeline? Can you meet up with this deadline? Already the employee knows that, oh, this report needs to be ready by 2 p.m. on Friday, regardless of whatever happens. Okay, so when it's 2 p.m., he knows the report needs to be ready. Then you tell the employee, oh, once you submit the report, we review it together. It takes it further, not just being a supervisor, but also showing interest in what your employee have done. Okay. Now let's go to communication. Communication. One major communication mistakes that I've seen over time is assuming that people understand what you just said. I can give an instruction now and just assume you understand what I said. But the truth is, what I said might be different from what you understand or even what you heard, right? So do not give vague instructions. Do not give instructions that do not have timelines, do not have who is responsible for what needs to be included. Always try to give very clear timeline. Okay, communication, communicate clearly. Do not just walk up to your employee and say, oh, that customer managed that customer, or oh, that customer handled that customer's complaints. You know, what is the complaint that the customer made? There's no clarity, there's no accountability, the communication is incomplete, it's incoherent, right? But what if you meet the employee and be like, oh, please call Mr. Adewale, right? Or call Mr. Chukuka or something, and you say, oh, call Mr. Chooks and tell him that his order will be delayed, apologize for the inconvenience, yada, 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 all those stuff. Now you've told the employee who they are to call, what exactly the problem is that they're apologizing for, right? You provided them with very clear instructions, and also tell him, oh, the products will be ready for delivery on so date. You provided solution to the problem, right? And you're giving your employees clear instructions on what to do. That way the employee does not come back to you asking you, oh, sir, who am I supposed to call? Man, who am I supposed to call? You've already given very clear instructions. For communication habits of any great leader, listen before responding. Always listen before responding. If you are not clear, ask question, clarify your expectations. Do not just assume. Assumption is the mother of all bad habits, right? So do not assume. If you are not clear on something, or if you're not sure this is what that person means, always ask question. Give regular feedback. Regular feedback is very, very important. Then encourage your staff to ask questions. Also encourage your staff to ask questions. Let's move quickly into trust. Trust, which is the fourth one. Let's move quickly into trust. Now, how do leaders destroy trust very fast? Micromanaging every task. You want to be in charge of everything. It will be exhausting. Trust me. You cannot be in charge of everything on your own. Micromanaging your staff will ruin trust. Publicly embarrassing employees or correcting employees. People have different ways they like to be corrected. Some people do not mind public correction, but some people do. So how are you correcting your staff? Changing decisions, just ending decisions without explanation, just wake up in the morning and just decide, okay, what we said we're going to do yesterday, we're not doing it like that anymore, we're doing this, and you don't even provide any explanation for why you changed your mind. Making promises, telling your staff to do certain things, but you are doing the opposite. There is not going to be any trust between you and your staff. Taking credit for team achievement, that's one thing that a lot of people do, or a lot of managers do. Because you're the manager, because you're the team leader, you just take credit for what your staff worked hard on, right? You just take all the credit and for everything, and that is not really nice. And then lastly, we're going to be looking at recognition. Recognize your staff. If your staff is performing very well, recognize them publicly. It's to encourage others to also perform, right? Recognition, it's a way of motivating your staff. It increases their confidence, it increases their productivity, it increases your retention rate, it improves your collaboration. It does a lot of things. As little as recognition might seem, it does a lot of things. Okay, now let's move quickly. Performance management that actually work. What is the performance management skill that actually work? The first one, we're going to be looking at plan performance. Let your tasks, your to-do, let it be properly planned. Assign the work, assign who is in charge of it. It should be properly planned. Who needs to achieve what, who is responsible for what, who approves what. All those things need to be properly planned. Okay. Your goals and performance. We have SMART goals, and SMART goals are S is for specific, M is for measurable, A is for achievable, R is for relevant, and T is for time bound. Now, SMART goals are it's very key, especially when setting your KPIs for yourself or for your staff. You should always be smart. Okay, specific, give clear instructions, recruit 5 sales executives, recruit 2 HR managers for our clients, recruit clear instructions. So I'm using recruit because I'm a HR manager. So but you should have clear instructions. Do this, do that. This is the result. This is what will help you understand that, okay, you've achieved the goal. Then it should be measurable. Can you track this? Let's say you said, okay, recruit 5 sales representatives, and this is trackable because you gave a figure to it, right? You said 5. So if the employee end up recruiting like 3, you already know, okay, yeah, over 50%, they've accomplished over 50%. Okay, so it should be measurable. It should be achievable. Do not give unrealistic KPIs. KPIs that even you know you cannot meet as a manager. Do not give that to your staff. It should be achievable. It should be relevant to your organization, relevant to the job description, relevant to the business objectives. It should just be relevant to whatever it is you are trying to achieve, the goal you're trying to achieve. Then it should be time bound. I need this done by 2 p.m. tomorrow. There should be a deadline to it so that it does not just go like that. There should be a deadline to it. Then communicate expectations. Communicate your expectations. Not just assume that they understand because you ask them, do you understand? And they said yes. Communicate your expectation. If you ask, okay, do you understand the instructions I just gave? And they said yes, tell them to tell you the instructions you give them and see the wonders that they would actually do. So that will help you understand whether or not this employee actually understands what I said he or she should do. Then support performance. Do not just assign tasks and leave. Let there be a follow-up. Did you encounter any obstacles? Do you need my help or my feedback in any area? If you give a task that can take a week to, achieve or accomplish, after like 2 days, call the employee and ask them, okay, how far have you gone? It's not micromanaging, it's just following up. Provide assistance where needed. It's very important. Provide assistance where needed. Then monitor progress. Yes, monitor progress. Know how far they've gone. Know where you can step in and help them. Do not just give instruction and leave it, then waiting for deadline before you start asking questions and start making corrections at deadline. Okay, monitor progress, give feedback. The feedback, the situation, like when you're giving feedback, state the situation. When did it happen? State the behavior. This is what you did, or this is exactly what happened. And state the impact. This is what happened. This is how what happened affected the business. Not just give random feedback. Let your feedback, you should not attack the employee, but you should also attack the behavior. You should correct the behavior that you're trying to amend. It should not be a personal attack towards your employee. You should correct that thing that you are trying to correct. Okay, and we've talked about people where behaviors are applauded, right? That is recognition. Encourages others to improve. It improves productivity. It does a lot of positive things to your business. Then correcting poor performance. How do you correct poor performance? Step 1, describe the issue. Stick to the facts. Do not just assume, oh, you've been doing this for like the past 2 months. I've just been keeping quiet. So now this is the height of it, right? You are attacking the person. You're not correcting. You're not describing the issue. So describe the issue. Okay. Ask questions. If you're not clear, if you don't have all your facts checked, ask questions. Okay. Describe the issue. This is what happened. Then agree on improvements. How do I improve? What should happen? What should I do differently from now? What should you do differently from now? Like talk about things that will improve it. That's a way of correcting poor performance, not just attack the person. Then after a while, set a review date. Okay, lately you've been coming to work extremely late, and resumption time is 9, and over like 2 weeks, we've noticed that you always clock in around 9:30 to 10. For the next 1 month, try and clock in around 9, which is the normal resumption time, and we'll review your attendance, or we'll review your punctuality after 1 month. Okay. So now, what is the Federal Royal Lead Framework? What is our lead framework? The first one is lead with clarity. Be very clear on what you want done and how you want it done and when you want it done. Lead with clarity. Empower people to take ownership. Empower people to take decisions. Okay. Then build accountability and develop continuously. Develop your staff, develop yourself. Always keep improving and always growing. Now, final conclusion. You've learned a thing or two from. If you have any questions, please drop them in the comments section. If you have any questions, drop them in the comment section and we'll get back to them as soon as we can. This is going to be bi-weekly, which means that next week we're going to have in 2 weeks' time, rather, we're going to be having the second episode of this. So I hope you stay tuned and I hope you enjoy this and I hope you've learned a thing or two. So I'll see you in the next episode. Do not forget to leave your questions if you have any in the comments. We have our team, Dr. Fakune Aremo, he's the managing director at HR Royal. We have Erin Shayo, she's our finance manager. We have myself, Theosi Janet Fauye. My name is Theosi Janet Fauye, and I am the human resource manager at HR Royal. We have Jessica Bityong, she's our executive coordinator, and we have Akimbodi Feishara, she's our business development manager at HR Royal. So yes, we hope you enjoyed this as much as we did, and we will see you in the next episode in 2 weeks' time. Enjoy the rest of your day, your night, your week, your month. Yes, have fun. Bye.